Hey Kinder friends, it's time for our chapter reading today. And we are still reading 8 class pets plus 1 squirrel divided by 1 dog equals chaos. So if you remember, last time we met Twitch the schoolyard squirrel. And then we met Green Eggs and Hamster, the first grade hamster. So today we are starting off with Miss Lucy Cottontail, the second grade rabbit. Let's see what she has to say. It's not everybody that starts school in second grade. The children in Miss Walters' class went to first grade last year. They were in a different building in kindergarten the year before that, and most of them spent a year or two in nursery school. Not me. I came to second grade straight from the pet shop, so that shows I'm the smartest one here. Well, maybe except for Miss Walters. But I'm not sure. Miss Walters never talks about being in first grade, so I think she may have skipped first grade too. But she does talk about last year's second grade class. I'm smart enough to know that means Miss Walters was kept back. But I'm polite enough not to mention it. I plan to finish second grade in 1 year. In fact, I think I may well skip third grade and go directly to fourth. Another way I know that I'm the smartest one here is that Miss Walters tells the children their job is to learn, but she says my job is to be cute and cuddly and not bite. Obviously, I have already learned everything there is to learn. Sometimes the children forget to latch my cage. I help them learn by running around the classroom and hiding under things. I leave a trail of little poops to help them find me. So here's another picture of Lucy Cottontail at her cage. I wouldn't be very happy if she left a trail of poops for me to find. Once I made it all the way across the hall to Mr. Daly's third grade room. Mr. Daly has fish. The fish are in a tank, and the tank is on a cart with wheels. I don't think the fish are very smart at all. They never escape and hide under things. They just swim back and forth, back and forth. I held my long, good at hearing everything ears up against the glass to listen, but all they'd say was, "We are in a school, we are in a school." "I know," I said, "we all are." There's a squirrel who lives outside. Sometimes he comes to visit after Miss Walters and all the children have gone home. The squirrel sits on the windowsill and makes faces and says rude things like, "If you were really smart, the humans couldn't catch you. I don't let them catch me." I point out to him that I don't have to stay outside when it's cold or rainy, and that I don't have to find my own food. The squirrel says they're smarter than rabbits. He says the kids in the playground sometimes call one another dumb bunny. Nobody, he says, ever calls another person dumb squirrel. I think the squirrel is making this up. I've never heard anybody say dumb bunny. One time, though, I heard one of the third graders call me Mr. Fuzzbutt instead of Miss Lucy Cottontail. This is one of the reasons I'd like to skip the third grade, but I don't tell the squirrel that. Besides, this just shows how dumb that third grader was. He couldn't even read the sign over my cage. I'm surprised Miss Walters ever let him out of second grade. One day, after the children had spent most of the afternoon learning something that had to do with crayons and glitter sticks, I was taking an afternoon nap when I heard a dog barking. He sounded so close it was as if he was in the building. But that couldn't be. Dogs don't go to regular school. They have their own school to go to because they aren't smart like rabbits and children. But the next thing I knew, in ran that squirrel. If dogs aren't smart enough to go to school with the rest of us, squirrels definitely aren't smart enough. They'd be kept back for 3 years in a row and have to sit in the corner the whole time. "Help!" the squirrel said. "Go away," I said. "There's a dog chasing me," the squirrel said. I told him, "Then you shouldn't have done whatever it was you did to make him chase you." "I didn't do it on purpose," the squirrel said. I chewed at an itchy spot on my foot. "If you were as smart as you think, these things wouldn't happen." The squirrel said, "I told Green Eggs and Hamster you were too stuck up to help me." I may be smart, but I'm not stuck up. While I was still busy chewing, the dog ran by my room, never looking into the doorway. The end of the long rope that was attached to his collar bumped and went thwap against the walls. Across the hall, I could hear the dog barking at the hamster. There was no squirrel there with the snake. You're hiding him. The squirrel was still standing there in front of my cage, shaking, too dumb to move. Apparently, I had to tell him everything. Run now, I said, while the dog is in the first grade. Go back out the way you came in. The door is closed now. The squirrel's teeth were chattering right from fright. Please hide me. You can see the dog chasing through the hallways trying to find that squirrel. I felt sorry for him. Go to the next room where the hamster is. There's a rat there. The rat has sometimes come to visit my second grade classroom. He's very good with his little hands, and he can open his own cage and doesn't need to wait for a child to forget to latch it. This doesn't make him smarter than me. He's just cleverer with his hands. Sweetie, the squirrel said. Cheeky thing, I beg your pardon, I snapped frostily. The rat's name is Sweetie. I knew that, I said. Ask Sweetie to let you in. The dog won't be able to get at you if you're in a cage. I couldn't resist adding, because inside a cage is safer than outside. Yeah, the squirrel said, waving his tail at me as he turned and ran. Now we get to meet Sweetie the library rat. I like being a rat, even though rats sometimes have a bad reputation. For example, if a person tattles or does something mean, another person might say, "You rat!" I never tattle, and I'm not mean. Sometimes, when the parents of students first meet me, they ask Miss Krause, "Does he bite?" Miss Krause answers, "Does your dog bite? Would you keep him if he did?" "No, Sweetie doesn't bite." Then she'll hand me a treat and show them. I stand up on my back feet and wiggle my pink nose. I've heard people say this is cute, and I'm working hard to impress them. Then I take the treat very gently from Miss Krause and I eat it, holding it with my fingers. Another thing people say, if something is dirty and worn, is that the thing is ratty. I'm not dirty or worn looking. I have white fur, and I spend a good deal of time grooming it. Since the fur is mine, and since I am a rat, the fur is ratty, but it is also clean and neat. And if someone has messy hair, people call it a rat's nest. There you have me. I am a bit messy because I love to chew on things. Not fingers, but just about everything else. Every year, the first story Miss Krause reads to the incoming first graders is Cinderella. Some of the children complain that they already know the story, but Miss Krause says she wants to start the year with a story that has a good rat role model. The rat in Cinderella is the hero of the story because he drives the coach that carries Cinderella to the ball. Without the rat coachman, Cinderella wouldn't even meet the prince. I love to hear stories, even when the hero is someone besides a rat. My friend Twitch the squirrel often comes after school to visit me. He's too shy to sit on the window ledge when the children are there because they move too fast when they see him. Twitch calls me cousin and tells me stories about outside. I tell him stories made up from bits and pieces of the ones I've heard from Miss Krause and the children. In my stories, the hero is often a rat. In Twitch's stories, the bad guy is always an owl. One day, Twitch came, not to the window ledge, but running into the library. "Help!" he said. I started to say, "What's..." But before I could finish, a dog ran in. Rats can't see very well, which is why, when we're loose in a room, we like to stay near the walls. But we are excellent at sniffing. I could smell the dog right away. He smelled angry, and then I heard him. "There you are," the dog barked at Twitch. "You'll make a tasty supper." In stories, that would be called showing a character's intentions. I guess owls aren't the only ones who can be bad guys in a squirrel story. Twitch ran up the leg of the table where my cage sits. He grabbed hold of the bars of my cage and said, "Cousin, help!" "Back off!" I yelled at the dog, trying to make my voice big and fierce. The dog was not impressed. His barks were a lot scarier than my squeaks. He jumped at us. He wasn't tall enough to be able to jump onto the table where Twitch and I were, but he almost made it. He jumped again and got a little higher, so that the nails of his front paws scratched the wood of the table as he tried to hold on but couldn't. Twitch said to me, "The rabbit says you can open your cage and let me in." "Good idea." That rabbit is very smart. I jiggled the latch. The dog jumped again. His front part landed on the table, but the weight of his back end made him slide off again. For a moment, he got tangled up in his own long leash, but only for a moment. He took a few steps away to get a running start. "Twitch," I said, "let go of the door. I can't swing it open with you holding on." Twitch let go. I swung the door open, and Twitch ran in. I slammed the door shut. Safe. The dog leaped, and this time he landed on the table. But he was going so fast, he slid and rammed right into the cage, knocking us into the display of art books Miss Krause had set up. There's a picture of him knocking them off the table and into the books. Books and cage, and Twitch and I went flying off the back edge of the table. I was dizzier than the time Miss Krause put me in the exercise ball and one of the boys kicked it across the reading area. Except nobody was calling for a timeout for this dog. The cage had landed on its side, and I could see that the door had not only popped open, it was bent back. It would not close. The cage was no longer someplace to be safe from the dog. The dog was looking a bit confused to find the cage wasn't on the table anymore, but then he spotted us on the floor and he jumped down. "Run!" I yelled to Twitch. Sounds like those two are in a little bit of trouble. We'll have to find out what happens next time tomorrow. Talk to you later.